to be able to have a full circle moment where I'm now not only helping other families secure housing, but also having an opportunity to sit at the table where we're having conversations about housing policy,
Yes.
to be able to affect positive change. It's inexplainable. I really can't put words to it, to know. Although being homeless, I was never powerless.
So I'm excited to be here with you, Crystal. Thanks for taking the time with me here at TAA1 in beautiful Fort Worth, Texas. You have an incredible story, and many people have hardships, but you're in the world of housing and providing housing for others, and you yourself were homeless at one time. Can you take that through? I know it's probably not an easy story, but can you take us through a little bit of that and why you're so passionate about homes for others?
Absolutely. Well, I'm also excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.
And especially in the realm of providing housing, as you said, when I was younger, my mom, who was a single mom with 3 young girls, me being one of them, we unfortunately found ourselves in part of my young childhood where we were living out of our car.
Wow.
And it was very unfortunate because the information, from what I gather from my mother now, I didn't understand this as a child, but she didn't have the education to understand all the different housing programs out there to assist individuals like herself
Yep.
that are significantly low income, but at that point she was unemployed. So we had no recourse, we had no support, we had no family, and we were all minors, my 2 sisters and I. And to be able to have a full circle moment where I'm now not only helping other families secure housing, but also having an opportunity to sit at the table where we're having conversations about housing policy,
Yes.
to be able to affect positive change, it's inexplainable. I really can't put words to it, to know. Although being homeless, I was never powerless, in other words, right? Knowing that my voice can actually affect change.
It's wild to think, because I think oftentimes in life, especially when you're younger, you don't think that one person can make a huge impact on things. At least I didn't. And I was taught that anything is possible. It is pretty incredible where people do come from nothing, or come, I think immigrant stories are incredible. Like you said, the hardships you went through, but it allows you to now have that empathy, not sympathy, empathy for others, and to know what they've gone through. And I think, now with your leadership and rising in the ranks, now being very active at the national level, the state level, and the local level, to help with housing, to understand when a decision is made. What does that mean to you and your team? And you have an incredible story at Luma, but also yourself, do you have a sense of culture or a mission that you live by? Can you share a little bit maybe about a North Star that you think about every day for your team and your people, beyond just the metrics of NOI and those kinds of things?
I think most importantly, at least at Luma or anywhere that I go, especially right now in my current role with Luma Residential, it's always focusing on the stakeholders, starting with the team, right? We need to have a solid foundation and making sure that not only are they fully aware of their role and expectations, but also allowing them to have that sympathy and empathy that we need to have in order to be able to be truly successful in providing housing to families, whether you're very low income or you're looking for a Class A apartment community. We're here to serve everyone alike, and I think that is one thing that I always like to fall back on is, are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled in what you're doing? Because ultimately that's what gets us up with a big smile on our face every day, right? Secondly, you also asked about our residents.
Yes.
Right? Being able to serve not only our organization's strategic goals, right, which is meeting all the KPIs, make sure we're providing a return on investment and whatnot to our partners and investors, but also fulfilling the mission of our residents. Because this is not a temporary place for most of them. This is home. We go 8 to 5. They stay 12 to 12. And we have to make sure that we're providing quality and affordable, attainable housing for everyone, that's in any walk of life. And I think that is the biggest thing. That's what brings me most fulfillment. And I would say most of the people in our industry, that's what fulfills us, and that's what keeps us going.
Curious too to get your take, because you talk about the residents, and I think there are so many incredible stories. You have an incredible story of being able to get into this industry as well, but Is there a story that stands out of an experience you've ever had with residents where you really just connected and you maybe learned something or your team learned something? Is there something that stands out to you?
I think there's so many. I started in affordable housing. It was a
Yep.
project-based Section 8 community. And I remember housing a family who the gentleman was going to medical school and he was from Mexico, but he was here studying on a visa and he had his family and they needed the Section 8 assistance to get him through school. And he did it. He's a practicing medical doctor now. The most impactful stories for me are those where people have been homeless and they found that housing that got them out of that, what some may call generational curse, right? Also, our veterans. We need to do more for our veterans. I have
100%.
a story of Mr. Nieto. I won't say his full name.
Sure.
But he was homeless. He would walk 5 miles to and from my property once a week just to make sure he was still on the wait list. 5 years later, I kid you not, we were able to house him.
Amazing.
And he was a veteran, disabled, fixed income, that he couldn't secure quality, affordable housing. The day that I called him to tell him, Mr. Nieto, your apartment home is ready, we were both in tears. Like, it was amazing. I think we have these kinds of impactful stories everywhere across our nation, across the world, that housing providers are creating these momentous events for people in their lives, and people don't understand unless, like you said, you've lived the moment, you've been homeless, you've gone through the adversity. You don't really know the impact until you live it. So it's important that we share with people the real life stories of what housing can do.
100%. And you think about the operations providers, and that includes investment.
Right.
Investment takes risk to develop, to invest, to upgrade these properties. And you talked a lot, and I think one of the cool things is we were in DC recently. And again, TAA, part of it is legislation and advocacy. It's also education. It's also opportunity for people to get jobs. Are there any stories, that you've seen, and maybe your own story of, getting involved locally, but then the difference of getting involved locally into helping write bills, and then at the national level? What is your story there?
Oh my goodness, such a great question. Well, I did start locally, and I'm now the legislative chair for the Texas Apartment Association. And believe it or not, this is amazing. And I still have this feeling of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
When I was nominated for the NAA Advocate of the Year.
Okay.
And even more so when I won it. It was big, but let me tell you why. Because again, someone that looks like me, someone that was homeless, being now the Advocate of the Year for a national housing association.
Amazing.
It's huge, right? All starts with using your voice. I say it's very hard to transform something that you can hear into something you can see.
Love that.
And when you can use your voice to affect a policy that now comes to fruition and you're seeing big things happen as a result, whether it's the housing voucher program, whether it's regarding the CARES Act and the impact that has, and or policies that create consequences that sometimes people that are not in the business don't understand. So it's important that individuals like ourselves come to the table, share our experiences, share our knowledge, and be able to impact that policy and have an effect on what our legislators are talking about, whether it's locally, at the state, or national levels.
100%. And to your point, is that I think oftentimes we think that legislators have all the information, especially if it's on technology, operations, housing, especially if they've been in the housing industry. But then you hear them say something on the news or, you're like, wait, what are they saying? I heard a legislator recently say, there's a lot of laws we can enact. There's one law we can't affect, which is the law of supply and demand. And at the end of the day, if we don't help housing, if we don't create more opportunity for people, and I think something you hit on earlier that really I want to dive into is the difference between good actors and bad actors. And most laws try to help with that. So, you were talking on something earlier about bill. We don't have to go too in depth, but at least a high level of it's trying to stop some of this bad actors. Is that correct?
Yes. So the CARES Act, which was implemented during COVID to help keep people in housing, right? Unfortunately, there is some ambiguity and it's still in place and it's affecting how we evict people that are not paying squatters, essentially what we call them, people
Yeah.
that take possession of a unit either beyond their lease term without renewing, without paying rent, or
Yeah.
people that take possession of a unit illegally. I mean, there's a lot of definitions.
Sure.
Nonetheless, I had a situation where I had a homeless woman who was living in her vehicle with her children, who was next on the waiting list, ready to take possession of
Move in.
her apartment home,
Yep.
and I couldn't, because I had a squatter in the apartment that I couldn't evict, and it just delayed her homelessness. So people that say, oh, we're going to keep this policy in place or this bill in place because we want to prevent homelessness, well, you're also delaying homelessness for
That's
others
crazy.
that are fully qualified, ready, that are in need.
So it seems like you're saying it hurts, number one, the people who want to find housing.
Right.
And number two, it could potentially raise the cost of housing because people aren't paying. There's no turnover.
Right.
So there's less availability, which raises the prices.
Right, because you may be a large organization and you could possibly deal with, 6 months of trying to evict someone, but when you're a small mom and pop, this is your bread and butter. This is how you
Yep.
pay, you put food on the table, you pay your mortgage and everything with this one building, and now you have 3 squatters that aren't paying for 6 months.
Yeah.
You go bust, you go belly up. That is bankruptcy, that is foreclosure, that is all the bad things, and we need to be cognizant of that. This is why I'm saying you need to use your voice, bring it to the table so that you can share with legislators the true impact of different housing policies.
It's interesting because as you say about that, we think about maintenance, operations, upgrades. And to your point, if a property can't be viable and there's rent not coming in, they can't upgrade the property.
That's right.
And for the people who are paying, you want to see those upgrades. From an operator standpoint on that point, you see all this technology. AI is now coming up, even with plumbing companies, with pool companies, AI is in the gym. What is your take as an operator? What is one of the standout things that maybe you think people can take action on that you've seen, maybe some of the conversations you've had, where you're like, oh, that was so good, and there's action that could be taken away for teams, and you're hearing about it from your own teams? Something that you could take away from this event this week?
I think ultimately housing doesn't have to be complicated.
Okay.
Does not have to be complicated. And I think more than anything, it takes discipline.
Yep.
Right? No matter what you're doing, we're all trying to achieve the same goal as housing operators. That is to house people and creating opportunities for evolution.
Yep.
And that is, of course, considering AI in many realms in different shapes and forms to assist us in how we do our business so that we allow the humans to provide the human touch.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not caught in the minutia of the things that AI can do for us, right? And not forgetting that human touch in housing is absolutely important. And the rest, I think, falls into place, right? Don't make it complicated. Keep the compassion. Keep the reason why housing exists alive, and that is to provide a roof over families' heads from all walks of life. And I think coming to the table, having the conversations, that's where it starts.
To that point about AI technology, a lot of people say this is going to eliminate so many jobs, but in a way, doesn't it actually provide optionality for people? So at midnight, when you can't have someone there, there's a way for them to communicate. But also if they're like, hey, I do want to talk to someone, then you have that human touch. Do you think it's a combination of both, or do you think it's going to go really far away from the humans? What is your take there?
I think in order to be successful, like I said, we have to be able to evolve. It's not about...
Got to be both.
Right. It's not survival of the fittest here. It's who's the most willing and capable to evolve. And that includes AI, right? And revolutionizing it and making sure that we're incorporating it into our business in a way that helps us be better human operators. And I think that is a key that we can't forget. And I don't think that it will ever take away the human component. I don't think we're ever going to be like, okay, we don't need humans to operate properties anymore. Now we have all these robots and AI systems.
It's not
firmly don't
reality.
believe that, but we can use it as a tool to become better.
So you describe yourself as results-driven, performance-oriented. Share with me, how do you get so much done, especially when you have your full-time work, and then you also have your volunteer work, with TAA and NAA. How do you get so much done in a day? Is there somebody you learned from, or a process you learned to get things done in the moment?
Well, I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
When you become so involved in a volunteer role in different capacities, you still have your day job, right? And first I have to thank Ian Mattingly, who's our president at Luma
Ian's amazing.
I have to thank him for affording me the opportunity to do this. And second of all, my team. right? Without a strong and supportive team, you can't continue to be able to function
Yes.
and trust that someone else is taking care of the day to day, right? So I think those two components are absolutely essential. And then at the end of the day, what is, the ends here mean, right? And that is to continue to provide quality housing and being able to maneuver between the two. But other than that, a lot of education sessions teach you how to be more, how to manage your time.
Yeah.
My mentor, Mark Hurley, has given me a lot of great tidbits in the last 6 years that I've known him. And I think connecting with everyone and asking the right questions.
Yes.
Never be afraid to ask questions because we can only learn, right? We have to be humble enough to always be ready to learn, but confident enough to be a good leader. I think that's
Yeah, and Ian has been so transformative in housing development, redevelopment, but also, acquisitions. I know you're making investments. Number two, also on the technology side.
Yes.
He's very involved in the AI and technology and startup world, especially as it relates to prop tech and how those things can help. Really kudos to you and your team and the work that you all do. I think it also takes a culture, right, of having people who are willing to invest, because this is an investment of time and dollars. How do you have a culture where you have investment and to say it's okay while balancing an effective cost? Is it kind of saying to a team, hey, you get to pick one or two things a year and we're going to invest in your things? Do you allow the team to kind of have a say in where they spend their time and where they want education from?
Yeah, so I think it's important to have a balance of this is what we need, right? Understanding, okay, addressing what is necessary and then doing what is possible, and then you execute on the impossible, right? So we take care
Love
of the
that.
day to day, which is doing what is necessary.
Yep.
And then we work on what is possible, and that is how do we teach our teams? We give them the time. This is possible. We can manage, within our budget to still get our teams to continue to learn and grow. And then we work on the impossible, and that is growing beyond our limits, growing beyond what we thought was possible within Luma Residential or within the industry in and of itself.
Love that. And I think a lot about, with the technology of, being able to do more with less. These are multi-million dollar, even tens of millions of dollars of assets. They add up to, oftentimes these portfolios can be billions of dollars.
Right.
And I think a lot of people overlook that. But, for someone who's learning how to manage these assets, do many of your team actually go to university, or do you actually look for people who can learn over the educate, like having per se a generalized education going through maybe real estate? Do you look for people more who actually came up through the ranks to manage these properties and these assets? What's your take on that?
So I tell everyone that this is the industry of growth and opportunity. One of the few that will actually give you an opportunity to not have a college education or even a high school education and still be able to build a career and be successful. I'm talking about 6 figures and up, if you really apply yourself. And to me, I'm always looking for the innate qualities. It's not, I don't care about your PhD. That brings nothing to me because knowing where I came from. I mean, I'm a non-traditional student. I didn't get my degree till I was 30 years old, So, and I was the first one in my family to get my degree. But nonetheless, to me, I could have still been successful in this career because of the passion, because of the innate qualities that I'm driven, that I'm disciplined, that I'm asking the questions, that I know that I don't know everything, right? And I'm willing to learn. And I think that's what we need to look for. And those are the people, because they will never lose their drive. They will never lose their passion. They will never lose the empathy or sympathy they may have for people in general. And we can teach them everything else.
100%. Yes, we can. I think people who are open, oftentimes people say they're a flopper if they make a decision and change their mind. I've learned you have to be open to, with new information, make better decisions. You can't be so ingrained that where you're not changing your mind. I want to take from you a quote from the Robert Frost, "The road not taken or the road less taken?"
Something like that.
Yes. And so what stands out about that poem for you and, around your story?
Right, so it starts with something I'm sure I'm gonna slaughter this. Sorry, Robert Frost, but the poem starts with something along the lines of 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And I feel that aligns completely with my story because I did not take the traditional route.
Yeah.
And to me, it's important that people in general know you don't have to. A lot of people talk about this is the dream route. You go to high school, you do your college, you go do your master's if you have to, PhD if you want to, right? That's not necessarily the true path to success. Many people have not finished high school. I finished high school, but I didn't finish my degree until I was 30. And I think that is a true example of sometimes you don't have to follow the same path everyone says is the true path. It's really about finding yourself, creating an identity for yourself,
Yep.
and what fulfills you and makes you happy is what's key. And it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 50 years old.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy and what fulfills you.
I love that. And today I think we have an amazing speaker. We have Jesse Itzler, who talks about just that, of going your own path, figuring things out in your own way, being creative, pushing yourself. But no one's going to motivate you more than yourself.
Right.
And you have to find that drive and energy. And I think he talks a lot about habit. What's a habit that maybe you have in your life that is unique, that or maybe a superpower that you have that maybe other people may not know about you?
I don't have a superpower, but let me tell you.
Oh, come on. Yes, you do.
Let me tell you something. I like to set goals for myself.
Yes.
Early on, I always told myself, what is it that people have that I don't? Why
Yeah.
is it so easy for them? And you know what I realized?
What's that?
Everyone's like me.
Yeah.
We're all human.
All the same.
And it's just a matter of how hard you're willing to push yourself.
Sure.
And so I told myself early on, I said, no matter what, Crystal, you have to get this done.
Yeah.
No matter what, you have to finish high school. No matter what, you have to get your degree. No matter what, you have to get your family out of this poverty situation.
Yep.
And so I've always told myself that. Whenever I know I want to achieve something,
Yep.
I tell myself, no matter what, this is what you're going to do.
Love that.
And sometimes it's just through the work that you achieve everything else.
I think one of the other pieces I want to close with is here at TAA, there's so many opportunities for people to engage. I think a lot of people meet, other friends, collaborations, but also there are new opportunities in the industry. So what's something you want people to take away when you're thinking about TAA1 and the industry and maybe an opportunity for the future?
I think it's important for people to understand that the TAA1 conference is a great opportunity. This isn't the acronym, right?
Yeah.
It's opportunity, networking, and education.
Yeah.
This is where you come for an opportunity to create new exchanges, meet new people through networking, and you take away a lot of great education. We have a lot of sessions on AI,
Yes.
on Senate Bill 30A, on public relations. Send the team, learn and grow. And I think that in a way, you'll start evolutionizing your organization and yourself as an individual, which then
Yep.
opens up a realm of opportunities.
Love it. Thank you so much, Crystal, for
Thank you.
joining me. This has been a blast to hear your story. And again, I can't wait to see you again here in Texas, but you all are in other states. How many states are you in now?
We're actually, Texas, Luma
Yeah.
residential,
Yeah.
we're in Texas, but we're in the DFW and Houston areas right
Okay. But
now. We do
yeah.
construction management in North Carolina as well.
Got it. Yeah. Also, I thought there were some properties in Georgia. Is that separate?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the time.
Thank
We'll
you.
be in touch.
All right.